As the prophet of esports, I rely on trustworthy and meaningful data every day. Data from our research partner YouGov offers the most complete view of esports fans and gamers in the world, providing context to who they are, what they think, the brands they buy, and things they do. YouGov's connected insights and research services inform strategy at every level. If you're a team, a brand, agency, or rights holder, you should be talking with YouGov. Their partners measure and maximize ROI and are telling compelling stories with data. Visit yougov.com/gaming-esports to learn more.
All right, this is from another outlet you shouldn't be reading because they don't have really no clue what they're talking about. The headline is Kappa Bar acquires Meltdown bars, forms world's largest esports bar chain. The story here is Swedish esports bar and restaurant franchise Kappa Bar that has acquired French esports bar chain Meltdown bars. So they're now this bigger group. They've become, according to them, the largest esports focused bar franchise in the world with 28 locations. I thought that was funny. That's not like that many locations. And they plan to open 100 venues by 2027. How do we all feel about esports bars, guys, and sort of consolidation happening in the esports bar space?
I don't know. I don't love this. Like, I guess I just don't know if there's not much demand for this. Like, I'm much more bullish on kind of the LAN center model, and I'm not sure. Nothing that I saw, at least when I listened to Williams' take, I didn't see any incorporation of that, like either LAN center aspect or just more gamification. I just saw it described as basically these are sports bars, but they're going to have esports on the TVs. Like, for me, that's going to turn away more people than it's going to bring in. I think. I don't know. Maybe I'm being too bearish. And obviously, I work in this industry, so I shouldn't be. But I just don't know if there's that much demand, to go to these things.
I think the problem is there's no visuals here. I don't know what it looks like, and anything on paper can sound however the author and your imagination make it seem to sound. So, like at XSET, we announced a partnership with Dre's Nightclub in Vegas, kind of an activation with a nightclub, one step higher, I think, than a bar in terms of just like the rage factor, but also equally ambiguous as to like, what does that look like? Because I haven't shown you what the activation in the nightclub in Vegas looks like. So when I think of these esports bars, and I'm sure if we dove deeper into the story, and I'm sure William gets into this as well on his show, you can kind of illustrate, I think, what to expect, but without having, honestly, the deck in front of me where I'm seeing the architectural designs and layouts, the projections. It's a very hard thing because it does rely so much on imagination. And I've seen amazing creative firms that can take simple ideas like this and really bring it to life. That doesn't change, I think, Jeff's point, which comes next, which is, well, once you build it, will they come, or will this kind of alienate and segregate communities as opposed to opening them up? What I can say on that front is my very first date with my fiance, I took her to one of those classic arcade bars. They had all the pinball machines, they had all the old school like 80s arcade machines, Rampage, and like the bartender one where you fill up the glasses. And we had so much fun. And that was kind of like my nerd culture, my gaming culture, drinks, good food, and then kind of something that she wouldn't have gone with any other guy, I hope. But so to that same point here, do we get that same experience here, right, where it becomes a welcoming bar that's open to anyone that wants to drink and that kind of knows gaming's cool? Or is this really just for people that like that kind of thing? It's like the potential antithesis of an Irish bar, which is open to everybody that wants to drink because they know what to expect there. I think it was kind of to your point, Jeff.
Look, I will. Tom mentions it. So great inflation, but he was excited. I think he was on track. Yeah, you should go watch the video, everyone. Like, it's a great episode, Office Hours with the Professor.
It's like less than 10 minutes too, right, Paul? So
yeah,
quick.
Less
video.
than 5 minutes, in fact. He mentions 3 reasons why, including potential for content and that it could be relatively easy to scale, things like that. So I won't ruin the episode. You should go listen to Office Hours with the Professor, but he William does give some good reasons for why the merger makes sense. The question I have for you guys is, do you like the idea of an esports bar? And I'll define it as, a place you can go drink, watch esports, for the most part, right? That's maybe gaming themed, but targeted at an adult crowd because there's alcohol, right? Or would you rather have, at least in North America, because we should limit it in some way, or would you rather have a LAN center, right? Like a place you go to play games and compete with your friends that is not age limited.
The hard part about the bar part, as opposed to the LAN center, is a lot of, at least watching it, a lot of why Twitch is so successful is the connectivity that the audience has directly with who they're watching. And maybe I'm taking this into content creators and less of esports, which have the tournaments and the competitive element. So correct me or redirect me if I'm broadening your this hypothetical too much. But right, like if you're going to put on Twitch and watch like a tournament, that's one thing. If I'm gonna in the random hours that the bar's open where there's nothing going on that weekend, I'm gonna just leave Twitch on. Well, there's no way for me in the bar to type in the chat to XQC or to whoever I'm watching. So it's a little different in terms of I think why that audience normally watches, and also how that content creator or that channel reacts with the audience. So personally, I'm more in favor of the LAN centers. I've been to some great LAN centers. We had Esports Arena on the podcast a few months ago, based here in Orange County, but with dozens of locations around the United States, including inside multiple Walmarts. And I've been to their Wednesday night fight nights. They have a beer and liquor license. You're getting a drink and you're watching people play Smash Ultimate. You're watching Mortal Kombat, and they're playing live there in front of you. Very fun environment, different experience. That's my preference.
Yeah, keep in mind I think most of the Meltdown locations have like things you can play, right? But they're more like console or social game or things like Smash, right? Where multiple people are gathered around. Maybe Francois can give us some details because I actually haven't been to a Meltdown. But he says there's one Meltdown in Montreal. It's where I always hang out usually. But it's more than just watching, right? So
I'd love to know more about it.
But yeah. I'm curious what the chat thinks in terms of like, would you rather own a pure LAN center open to all ages, or do people like the idea of a more adult audience bar that's about the viewing and maybe more about social games and not so much hardcore gaming of any kind?
So one thing about the viewing that I want to add from a business owner's perspective is when you have these LAN centers or when you allow anyone to play games, you need all that equipment, right? And for my bachelor party, which was a few months ago, we went to a LAN center for part of the festivities, and I got to speak with the owner and learn about their location in Chicago. And this is Mid Lane Esports, by the way. If you guys are listening outside Chicago, had the best time. My reviews are getting thousands of views on Google Maps. It's so funny. But I remember talking with them and them saying, a lot of the problem is these kids and these players get so frustrated they break the controllers or they break the equipment, and it's not a matter of being able to, or rather, it's just a matter of being able to replace. Because the kids will pay for whatever they break, it's part of the terms, but it's just a matter of being able to find more and replace more. So I do like now that we're talking through this, that if you're a watching type of facility, that concern, the need for certain high-speed internet, the need for 20 or 100 stations that you can hook up a PC or a console or both to. A lot of these places really just have monitors with interchangeable parts. You remove a ton of overhead and you kind of simplify the experience so that there's pros and cons, I suppose, to both.
Yeah, I think no doubt the capital cost to open a LAN center is definitely greater. Obviously, yeah, that's what you just kind of touched on. But I do think if you open a LAN center and do it right, it's a lot easier to build a community and bring people in. I think if you open one of these bars, you have to then find the community, find what they like, find what games they like, and you really have to probably build 7 or 8 different communities, right? Because if there's a League of Legends big tournament going on, it's probably not the same people you're going to bring in if there's a big FIFA tournament or a big NBA 2K tournament. It's just not.
But they're coming for the drinking, right? So that's the draw that is somewhat universal. And like, look at Francois' comment. He says, imagine an Irish bar, but with gaming stuff.
Yeah, but LAN centers can have bars. So I guess my point is, like, if I'm a big League of Legends fan and there's an NBA 2K tournament that weekend, like, I could care less about going to this bar. I'll just go to any bar. right?
Yeah.
Like it's just, I don't know that I think it would be a lot harder than you would think. The premise of this kind of takes that gamers are very homogenous, and that if you're a gamer, you want to go to a gamer bar because there'll be games on the TV. But frankly, like if there's League of Legends, I might walk in and be like, "This is terrible. I'm out of here." But if there's FIFA, I might be like, "Oh, well, this is cool. I'll stay." I think that like most gamers fall somewhere in that spectrum.
It's a good point. Here's, I think, where my take on this lies, though, and it's a subtle rebuttal of your take here, which is, given the option, right, of going to a bar where I have no guarantee of finding any gamers versus going to a bar where I find people who appreciate some games, maybe not the exact games I appreciate, I'd probably go to a bar where I'll find some gamers, given the option, right? All other things being equal. And so I definitely see a market for this, and I like it. I think I like it better, at least in North America, as some, like, not instead of LAN centers, but call it, for every LAN center, maybe 2 or 3 of these bars, because I think they do appeal to the kind of person who wants to go out, that is into gaming but may not go to a LAN center, right? Prefers people who go to a LAN center, it's because they want to play somewhere that's not their home with people who are not in their home, right? It's a very kind of specific outing. Versus a bar, you could just go 2-3 nights a week to drink and have fun with your friends. I don't recommend drinking at a bar 3 nights a week, but you could. And I think if you look at the LAN centers, that at least that I'm aware of, almost all of them make way more money on food and beverage than they do on the LAN center itself.
Right.
And so throwing alcohol there, probably is more profitable and lower cost than a LAN center. But outside of North America may be totally different, right? Maybe I think the dynamics would be different, and I think this would not be as interesting as a LAN center. Stuart says, Paul, you've just described a gaming version of Tinder. Well, I see all kinds of opportunities for gamer dating, especially if you have gamer bars. I mean, that they should go hand in hand.
I think this is the second week in a row we've talked about gaming Tinder. Like, we might have to just start this.
We might have to just do it. Yeah.
Pretty sure we talked about this last week.
All right, guys. That before we get to the next section here, actually, I want to just read this comment. François says, "You would be surprised, Jeff. The LAN centers have a harder time here than the thematic gaming bars. We have a couple." So
there you have it.
Interesting anecdotal evidence there. What's that, Jeff?
No, I'm saying that's why I love doing this show, because I like being told I'm wrong.